When there's atheists, you know who to call. Sunday apologetics. Reasoning with them is like talking to a wall. Sunday apologetics. When the arguments need to be destroyed, common sense must be employed. 'Cause when they're trying to tell the BS to us all. Sunday apologetics, go! 1, 2, 3, 4, go! Sunday apologetics! Hello, everybody. I just got back from another wonderful Sunday sermon at my new church I'm attending, and the pastor gave a very interesting sermon on discipline, and he literally said spankings don't end when you leave your parents' house, and this is how God disciplines those he loves. And of course, as you have probably expected by now, every mother in there, every time he compared it to a child getting physically disciplined by their parents, they all sat there and went, and then he told his own story about how he was misbehaving in a school, and the teacher took a stick and whacked him 4 times on the shoulder, and everyone was like, oh! And the pastor actually had to be like, oh, but see, here's the thing, and, calm him down. And I'm like, are you guys serious? All you people sitting here going, every time he talks about a child getting hit. How many times do you hit your child? Probably, I'm going to guess about 4 or over. So don't sit here and act like, oh, that's the part that got me, oh, child abuse. But you guys in my group, you know I didn't make this video to talk about crazy teacher stories. I made this video to respond to a little-known YouTuber named Pax Tube. Pax Tube, I actually found by accident when I was looking up Anne Trichet. I still don't think I'm pronouncing that right. Anne Trichet's view on Confederate monuments, and Pax Tube had actually made a response in which he argues maybe that Confederate monuments shouldn't be taken down. Now, this automatically put me at ends with him, as I have my own opinions on Confederate statues. However, I checked out the rest of his YouTube channel, because a guy on YouTube saying something controversial that doesn't fit a narrative? I'm intrigued. But his most recent video on the racial undertones of the anime Attack on Titan really caught my attention. And that is what I'm going to be responding to. I'm going to let him make his case, and I'm going to let his video play, a section of his video play for quite a while to make sure that you can all hear his arguments and I'm not misrepresenting anything. So without further ado, here it is. Here's Pax Tube's argument and what he thinks is the racial undertones of the anime, the very popular anime, Attack on Titan.
Attack on Titan begins as a rather straightforward story. Humanity versus monsters called Titans. We're told that our protagonist's walled civilization is the last stand of mankind, and that the rest of the world has been wiped out by the Titan threat. The first several seasons focus on our main characters Eren, Mikasa, and Armin attempting to defeat the Titan onslaught. But as the story progresses, we're introduced to a shocking twist. Humanity outside of the walls has not been wiped out. In fact, it's alive and well. Our heroes are not the last of mankind, but are rather one of its various races. Their race is known as the Eldians, and where we've been for most of the series is actually an island isolated from the rest of the world. The reason that the Eldians are isolated and under attack by Titans is no accident. Rather, it's because the rest of mankind wants to wipe them out and take their island for themselves. The Titans, this entire time, have been other Eldians mutated using a serum. This cruel fate is enacted on them because the other races see them as devils.
もったいねえ悪魔の血じゃなきゃな。
島にいるのは世界を地獄にした悪魔だ。私たちには悪魔の血が流れているからね。
パラディ島の悪魔を成敗すれば世界を救えるんだ。そしたら俺は世界一の自慢の息子になれるんだ。
The main race that now rules over mankind, the Marleyans, have set up an entire system of persecution targeting the Eldians. Besides tormenting our protagonists throughout the entire story by sending Titans to kill them, the Eldians that live within Marleyan civilization are also treated horrendously. They're kept in internment camps and taught since birth that their ancestors were evil. They're even required to wear designated armbands to let others know they're Eldians. Many viewers have noted clear similarities between Eldians wearing armbands and being kept in internment camps to Jews in concentration camps during World War II. However, upon learning more about the history of the Eldians and why their race is despised, their similarity with the Jewish people quickly ends. Instead, the Eldians share many more parallels to another real-life race. But before we explore which race that is, let's look at the history of the Eldians and see why exactly they're hated by the Marleyans. The history of the Eldians begins hundreds of years before Attack on Titan takes place. We're told that the original Eldians inherited magical powers that allowed them to conquer the world. This power is called the Power of the Titans. Using this strength that the rest of the world lacked, the Eldians conquered it and created a vast empire. Marleyan history teaches that during their reign, the Eldians called other races inferior and began to engage in eugenics. Eldians dominated for centuries and their power was unrivaled. Eventually, however, the Eldian Empire collapsed due to infighting and subversion from within. We're told that the Marleyans were key to this subversion. With the Eldian Empire in shambles, other races began to reassert themselves, and the Marleyans came to dominate the world in the fallen Eldians' place. The last king of the Eldian Empire flees with his people to the island of Paradise, and uses the Titan powers to build enormous walls. He makes a pledge of pacifism to never again fight the outside world. That takes us to the timeline of Attack on Titan. In the series, not only are the Eldians not on Paradise physically persecuted by the Marleyans, but they're also mentally tortured by being taught to be ashamed of their history. Ashamed Eldians pass this narrative on to their children, and they're told that the time that their people ruled was literally the Dark Ages.
娘を失った直後の父親にしては饒舌だった。ご主人様の言いつけを守り、危機として己の祖先を卑下する姿は犬さながらであった。
It should be noted here that it's heavily implied that the Marleyans have exaggerated the negatives of Eldian history in order to increase their own power at the Eldian expense. Eldian restorationists, for example, believe that entire sections of their history have been tampered with in order to demonize the Eldians and downplay the good that their people accomplished. With all of this in mind, it's clear that the race the Eldians share the most in common with is Europeans.
And cut. So there you have it. Pax lays out very nicely, might I add, that he feels that Europeans are the race that is being represented by the, I forgot the name. The people who are being segregated in the anime. But, in all honesty, he brought up how the similarities between them and the Jewish people ended after you got past the whole armband and the concentration camp-like setup, but honestly, I don't think they did. I mean, seriously, go back and watch that clip and look at the ruling race, and tell me right now they don't look like a bunch of Nazis. Also, when I heard of Attack on Titan, and I heard Pax's argument, and I've seen the anime, and I've watched it explained through other people's point of view, I still get the feeling that the segregated race in Attack on Titan is supposed to be the Jews. I mean, even the whole idea of Titans and giants sounds a lot like the Nephilim from the Bible. And the idea that this race was given mystical power and they were able to conquer everybody, but then they started being bad and they all fell apart from the inside, so the other people came and conquered them, that kind of sounds like Jewish history in the Bible 101. Now, I mean, sure, Jews didn't conquer the world, but in all honesty, what's really the point of this video? Did I really make this video just to say, hey, I don't agree with your interpretation of a certain anime? No, not really. You see, I went on to watch your video, and you brought up how a big reason is, well, they're being taught to hate their history, just like white Europeans today. And I'm like, well, depends on where in world history you want to go. You want to go back to British colonizing days? You can say that it's actually a euphemism for how black people were treated. Travel back, way back, and you'll get biblical Jews again. Sadly, this really fits anywhere because throughout world history, races conquering other races and degrading them really was just part of the course. But in all honesty, you brought up some things in your videos about how you feel white people are being segregated, and you gave some ways. In all honesty, as far as the anime is concerned, anime is art. You see what you want to in it. I still think my Jewish representation is the most accurate, but truly, I do feel like you are right in saying that white people, Europeans, sort of do get crapped on a lot in this society. If you've watched any of my past videos, you'll know that I just went through a pretty bad breakup. Oh, and now my power's out. You'll know I just went through a very bad breakup. And before we broke up, me and this girl, we actually went to a church conference, which was majority black, but there were other white people there, and the black people were saying, you know, whites, you've got to be stronger, you shouldn't be treated like this. And you're probably thinking, wow, what majority white area was that? It wasn't. It was in Cheektowaga, a majority minority city. See, you're not alone. Not every minority, every black, every Hispanic person looks at the way white people are being depicted today and sits there and goes, oh, that's good. They deserve that. Because no, the entire idea of equality is what was presented to us throughout history. From the slavery abolitionists to the Martin Luther King Jr., equality, it's all we've heard, but we're past equality now. You don't want to be equaled. These crazy, on the left, blacks, they don't want to be equal to you guys. Now they want something more. Like, they want reparations, they want some special treatment, they want you to bow down and kneel, and, you know, I even saw one where there was a booth for black people to have white people shine their shoes, and I'm just thinking, that's completely degrading. That's not okay. That's not the way things should be. Equality. But sadly, you may be thinking, what's your point, Trey? I mean, after all, it's not like you got skin in the game. See what I did there? Okay, moving on. But in all honesty, maybe I do. Not my own. But anyone who watched my Easter special back last year knows that my brother is so white, he probably puts you to shame, Pax. I bet you're not whiter than my brother. Go back and look at my Easter video and look at his blonde hair and his blue eyes and his perfect European features, and then after you're done, don't ever check out my brother again, you freaking weirdo. But in all honesty, a part that really woke me up is that to get to work I have to go to University Station, which is a rail station. And I went to a Wendy's in there before I caught the bus, and it was a majority black, a lot of black workers in there, a lot of black customers. I think I saw one or two white people. And there was a cashier behind the counter who, for whatever reason, in the conversation she was engaging in with the black customer, just blurted out loud, I hate white people. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, looking around, and I'm like, nothing? Really? Okay. See, I didn't say it anyway. I didn't say anything because, quite frankly, I felt like maybe one of the two white people standing there should have said something. But it really is a really cruel irony, is that who's being oppressed, who it's okay to oppress, and why it's okay to oppress them, really does kind of depend on who has all the power, doesn't it? But I'll tell you right now, I would have said something to that lady if my brother had been with me. Because I don't think it's right that he should have to see that and hear that. At the end of the day, maybe I don't have skin in the game, but that shouldn't matter. Not having skin in the game didn't stop the slavery abolitionist. Saying, well, you're not the same race as this segregated race, so go on and mind your own business. That's not right. That's not what I do. And Pax, you and me are both Christians. I mean, your YouTube, what do you call that, cover photo on your channel is literally an anime girl holding the Bible. By the way, you should totally swing by Pax's channel and check out his anime video. His video on anime girls. And ladies, take the hint. But Pax, you and me are both religious. I'm gonna admit some of your content gets a little racy there. I mean, we made a whole video talking about how America is not a nation of immigrants, and then you went on to tell the story of immigration. Sounds like you were kind of making the argument that America is a nation of immigrants, just white immigrants, and I'm not gonna say it until you do. But, nonetheless, I also watched your video where you took the compass test, and you said some races had inherent quality that makes them better than others. Well, yeah, I mean, admittedly, I've never seen a white or a black person make good Spanish food, so yes, I guess we are the superior cooks. But, in all honesty, we're both Christians, and I hope that we're Christians first and black and white second. Because I don't care which of the little Hitler youths that I call my brothers. Yep, that's right, there's 3 of them. I don't care which one you're talking about. I don't want any of them to have to grow up in a world where they have to be treated a certain way. Because after all, I have a dream that one day we will live in a nation where we are not judged by the content of our... Geez, I always screwed it up. Either way, it was a good idea. I certainly hope that it was more than just a dream. Either way, this is the end of the video. So long, and stay tuned next Sunday.